everyone. This is Brad from Board Game Geek. We're here at Steve Jackson Games with Randy, who's going to talk to us about the Ogre app, which is, I guess, being developed by Ogre Digital. But you guys are obviously overseeing it and bringing it to the market. So can you tell us a little bit about where it is?
It'll be less of an app, more of a game.
Okay.
The Ogre game on Steam, the
Okay.
video game. It's if you've loved the Ogre board game, but you can't get that other person to play as much anymore, this will give you that opportunity to bridge distances and do I'm taking my turn, you take your turn tomorrow, and I'll take my turn, or a quick back and forth, but play the video game pretty rapidly. And it's very much like the board game,
Okay.
but it's animated and it's got the graphics, and Ogre Digital's doing a wonderful job on it.
It's awesome. So you mentioned a little bit about online play. So it looks like there will be asynchronous play. The players can kind of play at their own pace.
Yes. I've got the beta, which is really weird to me, as much as I use Steam to see one of the products I've worked on Steam, because we're a board game company. Having friends ask, because they'll see me playing Ogre, because I'm going through, checking things out, looking at stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it's beta. Don't worry about that. But it's that asynchronous play is there. When I look inside, it still needs the menus still need to be prettied up. You'll also have the opportunity to play through a scenario, so a campaign with, don't quote me, but I believe a dozen boards. So you'll run through a storyline. I think it's a dozen. I'm not sure. I'll have to recheck.
Okay.
But that'll be a part of the initial offering as well.
Cool.
The soundtrack is also there. It seems real strange. You have to buy the game if you want to buy the soundtrack. It counts as an extension, which was weird to me. I didn't realize it, but it makes kind of sense from their perspective.
Okay. What's kind of the basis of the soundtrack? Is it original composition?
Tom Smith's work. The work we had Tom Smith do when we launched the Ogre Designers Edition, when we had that soundtrack made, a lot of that work, which there were albums already out there of it, but in a more approachable fashion and easier way for a larger audience to get a hold of them, as well as some of the digital changes that Ogre Digital has made. So they based a lot of the music in the game off of Tom's work.
Okay.
So keeping his work there, but taking their riff on it and putting it in a video game instead of just the music itself. So a few of those on there. Most of it is Tom's original works, and there's a couple of bonus tracks as well from other sources.
That's really awesome. How has it been? I know that Ogre notoriously was maybe not a super complicated game, but a little hard for some people to grasp that aren't maybe used to war game mechanics. Is there some efforts there and tutorials and stuff to help you play?
Yeah, there is a tutorial you run through that'll show you how stuff works, what these numbers mean. More importantly, part of the problem some people had was the math. It was not difficult math,
Right.
but it was still math you had to do, and that's not always something you want to do when you're playing a game, is the math part.
Right.
So this does that for you. It's going to be right there on the screen, so you'll see it. You say, oh, I've got 2-to-1 odds. I add this guy. It's 1-to-1 odds now. Here's the die roll I need. It's all listed out. When we're working on board games, what I would call the tax prep, just the stuff you have to do to get to the fun.
Yeah.
Video games are really good at taking that tax prep stuff and condensing it down and having it automated out of sight, out of mind, and it's just there. It's done for you. So that it's a little complicated. Most of that goes away. This guy can move this far. It says how far he can move. I can shoot this far. I need these dice. This is what I got to hit. It should be very clear.
Cool.
So those gaps, those hurdles should be overcome in the video game.
Because you'll be able to quickly just see all the information you need and act on that. That's really awesome. So how did you guys decide on the look of the game? Is it going more traditional? Is it kind of taking its own art style?
Very traditional, very, very much what you know of as Ogres.
Okay.
A lot of what they're modeling, we have Ogres minis that we were putting out, those mini sets. So we had CAD drawings for a lot of the Ogre stuff, and we were able to say, does this help you? And they go, yeah, yes, wonderful. And they base it off of that. Some things have to change when you go from a miniature into the digital world, or vice versa. But we were able to give them a lot of help. Not all the help. They had to do some of the work, some of the design themselves because the CAD files weren't caught up with what they needed,
Okay.
because they were able to work much faster than we were on the physical minis project. So we gave them some help, sped things up for them, but it looks very much like Ogre. When you see it, you'll know that's Ogre. That's Ogre.
So how's it been working with? I know you guys have done some digital projects in the past, but how's it been working with this company this time, kind of getting this project over?
Auroch Digital, it's been great. There's always going to be some misunderstandings, but our communication has been very good. They have been very clear. Everything is well delineated. This time, these dates, on this date, this will go forward. If anything has to change, they've been very good about getting back to us and saying this. They have also been very good about communicating, hey, you guys are behind. You need to get us this approval to run forward with this. They were a great company to work with and still are. I want to get out to England to go see their studio. So if I can, I'm going to get out there and talk to them in person.
That would be pretty fun.
It's a good trip if I can make it.
A good business trip, right?
Yep.
So are there, when you're talking about timelines and stuff, are you guys talking about any release windows? October 5th. Wow, okay.
So less a window and more a date.
Yes.
October 5th on Steam for PC. I think it's also on Mac. It's in the Unity engine, so I don't know why it wouldn't.
Okay.
But I believe PC and Mac at the same time on PC, on Steam.
Awesome. Is there plan for like DLC content later on, or is it mainly focused on that main product for now?
This is one of the first video games we've done recently.
Yeah.
We've done some apps, we've done some things like that through different people, but to get that process streamlined, we need to do one. Talks about things in the future, we have to wait for the finished product, because if we're not satisfied or they're not satisfied or it all falls apart at the end, we want to know that before we go into the next one. There are thoughts about it, but a lot of the expansions that have been in Ogre, GV, things like that, they're already inside what the video game is going to be, so it would be expanding it past that. There is a campaign editor, to my knowledge, there's a campaign editor, so fans will be able to make up their own maps, make up their own campaigns, run their own friends through it.
Okay.
I believe it will run through the Steam Workshop.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% on that one at the time.
No worries. Can you talk about pricing at all, or is that still
$24.95, I believe, is the MSRP. They've something like $25, right around in there.
okay?
We're good at pricing our products. Once we go into that world of a digital world, we have to depend on them and their market research for what it should cost. My personal, as someone who buys things on Steam, seeing what they produce, it seemed like the right price. If I had to guess, I would have said 20 to 25 bucks, and it was in there. So my guess probably what it would cost. But the current plan is $24.95, so $25.
Awesome. One last question, or I guess I showed a lot of it earlier, but when bringing this game to digital, were there any changes that had to be made, or difficulties of like converting? Because not every tabletop game immediately just fits into the video game world. Were there any challenges that had to be overcome or designed?
Yeah, a lot of building, especially with the scenarios, the campaign.
Okay.
There are things you can do on a board where you just say to the other person, we can't cross this line.
Okay.
That doesn't convey in a video game.
Yeah.
You have to do something that says you can't cross this line. So we've been working through those. We also there are certain decisions you're able to make as you and I are playing against each other. I attack you. There are certain things that you have a choice on some of those attacks. Those choices are great, but we needed you in asynchronous play to have that choice already made, sort of. So the video game, the AI, the computer is able to say, this is really the best choice. If you want to make another one, we can work on it. But in the asynchronous play, so that I don't have to break my turn waiting for you to respond to maybe a day later sometimes, it is, well, okay, he probably wants to make this decision, so we'll make this decision. We'll streamline some of these processes. A few of the very nitpicky decisions you could make were taken away to make that just smooth, more just video game. The other person isn't necessarily standing there, so we needed it to happen right now.
Okay, that makes sense. Like interrupt a turn just to make one choice, rather than when you complete your turn and then on my turn I can make more choices.
When it was a choice that there was a pretty obvious answer for, there are circumstances where it won't be, but that's like the minority. So
Cool. Well, it sounds like a really great app that you guys have been working on, or sorry, game that you've been working on. Apologies.
it's easy. Everything's an app now. Everything could be.
Technically, yeah.
You could refer to anything as an application almost, but this application to me is something that's small, more on your phone, more turns a light on, lets you see who's coming into your house, like stuff like that. This is a game. It's a full game. It's not an addendum to Ogre. It's not just some other thing you use while you're playing the Ogre board game. This is the Ogre video game. That is the board game brought into the video media.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to October 5th. It's coming very quickly.
It is. It's racing towards us. It's amazing how quickly it's come along. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks.